you all have started reading it. I have. It's incredible. Daybreak, Undoing the Imperial Presidency and Forming a More Perfect Union. You all know David from After Downing Street. He doesn't really need an introduction, but he is a wonderful man, and he gets the word out, and he shows up. And that's what we all need to do. Thank you, David. David is here. David Swanson.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Wonderful bunch of people. Can you imagine the outcries of national shame from liberal commentators if George W. Bush had accepted a peace prize by advocating for war and announcing his right to launch aggressive wars? What an embarrassment that would have been.
That's right.
Totally. But Bush would have made such a speech with fewer troops in the field, fewer mercenaries in the field, a smaller war budget, a smaller military budget, bases in fewer nations, the imperial powers of the presidency less firmly established, and of course, worse pronunciation. And isn't that what matters? The current president is smart and belongs to a different party. So when he continues and escalates wars we despised, wars we made great sacrifices to try to end, well, either the wars must be better than we thought, or escalating them must be really the super smart way to end them. After all, the other warmongering party calls the president a foreign-born socialist traitor. Except that they loved his speech in Oslo.
Yeah, they did.
One reason that President Obama believes he can claim the power to launch wars is that Bush's lawyers produced on October 23rd, 2002, a memo proclaiming that presidents have that power. And do you know what their central argument was? Bill Clinton did it. Bill Clinton launched minor attacks on Iraq and other parts of the world, not to mention the former Yugoslavia, and so therefore, Bush had the right to do the same thing on a larger scale. In right-wing rhetoric, Clinton was another socialistic traitor. In legal arguments, he was the justification for Bush's crimes. It's the same deal with President Obama. In the surface-level charade of partisan bickering, he's a socialist, a term applied without any particular meaning to it. But underneath, his efforts to protect the criminals who preceded him and to continue their crimes are honored and appreciated.
That's right.
Is Obama a war president?
Yes!
Is the Pope Catholic? Because we have allowed presidents the power of war, the term war president is going to be redundant from here on out. Presidents gain powers through wars. Presidents love wars. I don't mean that President Obama has no choice. He could defy expectations. He could refuse to be corrupted. He could do what he is legally and morally required to do. If you imagine such things are impossible, I refer you to Congressman Dennis Kucinich and former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney. It can be done. But we have gone 2¼ centuries without presidents readily answering the demands of the public. And this republic has lasted this long in large part because the public has compelled the Congress to restrain the presidents. I hate to say this, but I'm not against escalating a war. I'm against continuing these wars at all. And I don't want a president to end an escalation or a war. I want the House of Representatives to deny this president the money. But our representatives are largely bought and paid for. They're terrified of the corporate media. They're servants of party bosses. Their corruption is the primary reason that millions of people fantasize about lobbying a president. Sometimes we like to think as well that pressuring Congress to do its job, even through the most aggressive, nonviolent resistance, somehow constitutes naive faith in a system, whereas pleading with the emperor is true populism. You know, the people who wrote the Constitution got a lot of things wrong, but they were ahead of us on this one. They knew that we could never have peace if a single individual was given the power of war. We must put the power of peace back in the Congress and force the House of Representatives to use it. They have a final vote next week on a war funding bill. They need to vote no. But do you know what they're going to do to try to pass it? They're going to put unemployment insurance in a war funding bill. When it's not relief for victims of hurricanes, when it's not education for veterans, pretty soon it's going to be kittens for children. Now it's unemployment insurance as the lipstick on this pig of a bill that creates unemployment in the first place. Investing money in wars creates fewer jobs than cutting taxes, and cutting taxes creates fewer jobs than investing in education, in mass transit, in infrastructure, in construction, in any non-violent industry. Every dollar for war is a dollar less for jobs. Congress members are absolutely aware that they can vote no on a whole package until the war money is taken out and the unemployment insurance is left in. And you know that you can force them to do it now and in the coming weeks and in the coming months. You know that much more difficult things have been done. You know that it is far more enjoyable to engage in this struggle, even in the cold, than to sit at home and complain. And you know that the time is rapidly coming when we must do what any civilized nation would have long since done and non-violently shut this town down.